My name's Tawny Reinhardt. If this is your first time joining us, and I am part of the Teacher Innovation Network leadership team, along with all of my colleagues who are just fabulous women in tech to work with. And we've got Sarah from Shasta County, woohoo! Christina and Krista and Anu, both from Santa Clara County Office, and Stephanie from Santa Cruz County Office of Education. So this is just our Teacher Innovation Network team, and the five of us work really hard to just make sure we bring you amazing speakers, and just love seeing all of your faces at all of our EdTech playgrounds. So reach out if you have any questions during the night. And what about you? We have our Padlet map that we're going to drop in the chat right now, and we'd love to see where you're at. If you've never dropped a pin on our Padlet map, we've started this map I think 3 years ago now, so we love just seeing where everybody is, where our community is. Most of us are across the state of California, but some of us come from a little bit farther than that, which is great. So get your pin in there if you'd like, and let us know where you're at. All right, and here is today's agenda. We're in the middle of our warm welcome right now, and we're about to introduce our great speaker. And then the floor is going to be Christina's for the night, and she's got some excellent stuff around Canva prepared for us. And then at the end, we'll close up with just a couple reflection questions. And then also, if you're part of our Playground Pros, make sure to stick around because we've got the sign out link. And if you're not part of our Playground Pros, no pressure to stay all the way to the end, but if you do have a question, our team will be around as well to answer those. Christina Corradino, she currently serves in the Riverside Unified School District as a teacher on special assignment for the Department of Innovation and Learner Engagement. She supports teachers, staff, students, and families in digital and media literacy, foundational digital tools, digital citizenship, and computational and design thinking. Having spent 27 years in education, including 17 years in the classroom teaching upper elementary, Christina is passionate about student engagement, agency, and leveraging technology to improve educational outcomes for all. So without further ado, Christina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I just want to say what an honor it is to be part of the EdTech Playground this evening. I am really looking forward to having this opportunity to interact with all of you and share some of the good things that we're seeing in our classrooms here in Southern California, specifically in Riverside. I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation and get that up and running for you. We did do a sound check earlier, but you know, technology sometimes is real life, and there are times that we triple check something and it still doesn't work. So by any means, if there is a problem, if a link isn't working, if an audio is not working, feel free to type that, add that into the chat, and we will make sure that we get our problem do some troubleshooting so that we can really get our maximum benefit out of this evening. I really appreciate the introduction. That is it's very awkward to write your own bio and tell other people what you're doing because it's just not something that we normally do as teachers. And even though I am your presenter tonight, I am a teacher first. And so it is really nice to share a space with other teachers. If you would like to access these slides at any time, the bit.ly is down there at the bottom. It is case sensitive and everything is in lowercase letters for you this evening, just so that we are not getting thrown off by those fabulous bit.lys. So let's get started. I want to get a little temperature check for the room. We're going to be talking about digital storytelling with Canva tonight. So what better intro than to start with one of the most famous or infamous storytellers in our history, Shakespeare. So on a scale of Shakespeare, go ahead and type in the chat. Tell us how you're feeling this evening and why. On a scale of Shakespeare, how are we doing today? I'll give everyone a minute to do that. Oh no, we have some friends who aren't feeling good today. Oh, field trips today. My goodness. I do have to say, this is one thing I do miss. Don't tell anybody I said this, that I do miss about virtual teaching is the chat check-ins. I have to say, I do actually miss that. Yes, I we haven't had rain down south yet, but it's coming for us too. So I definitely sympathize with the rain. All right. Number 8, what else could happen today? Yes, I spent my morning. I had a full day iPad training, and then came run home to present with you. So I think I'm also like feeling a little bit like a 6 myself, because 2 presentations in one day, we got this. We're gonna have a great time together. So part of digital storytelling is knowing our students and knowing ourselves really well. And I like to start with this slide, and I want you to think about, what do you know about me just from this slide? Feel free to type it in the chat as well. What can you see? What do you know? And no cheating from the introduction and bio earlier. Ignore that part. Let's see. What are we learning? So we're picking up on those clues that I'm providing in this slide. I'm a reader, I'm a sketchnoter, I'm an ENFJ. These are all different things that make me me. Of course, there's more. There's always more, right? There's always more to us. There's always more to our students. But we can't start talking about digital storytelling, and we really can't start talking about student creation projects unless we start with our students and who they are and what the purpose of our projects is. This presentation is going to be digital storytelling with Canva, but there is going to be a heavy why behind this presentation. There's a reason why your team, your EdTech Playground team, is bringing digital storytelling with Canva to you, because it's a powerful engagement and activation tool for your students. We are going to go through Canva today and really focus on the classroom application. That's going to be our focus. This is an activity, this opening slide, this About Me slide, is because we have to start with knowing our students. Everything that you're going to see in here today is driven and informed by the ISTE standards for students and the ISTE standards for educators. You as the educator are participating as the learner today. You will also have an opportunity to collaborate through our chat, through our conversation. And then also, my real goal is for you to go leave this meeting, leave EdTech Playground as a designer of authentic learner-driven activities and environments that accommodate learner variability, that anticipate learner variability, so that our students can then go on to be the knowledge constructor, to be the creative communicator, to be the students who are truly an empowered learner. So, what are we doing? Why are we here? Our goal tonight is to leverage digital storytelling with Canva to build student agency and empowerment so that we can maximize academic engagement and really that student agency to improve outcomes for all. How are we going to know that we've learned it? We could go back to class tomorrow and implement the strategies or the projects that you've seen today. I repeat this often, and I totally stole it from another presenter at TCEA, Texas Computing Educators Association. If you ever get a chance to go to that conference, it's excellent. But what is learned here leaves here. That is our motto in my department. What is learned here leaves here. So let's jump right in. We're going to start with the power of belonging. I know you're thinking, wait a minute, we're talking about digital storytelling with Canva. You're right, but why? Why should we incorporate digital storytelling with Canva in our classroom? Because we know how important belonging is in our schools and in our classroom, and this is a way to make that happen. Let's learn a little bit more about what that means.
My name is DeLeon Gray. I'm an associate professor of educational psychology and equity. My research focuses on helping students, parents, teachers, and community stakeholders unpack belonging and concepts and motivation to ultimately support students' engagement and learning and productivity. Belonging has been linked to students' motivation and success in a number of ways. For one, students are more energized. They spend more time on tasks. They return to activities, and they choose to be in environments that make them feel a sense of fit. A sense of belonging in school means feeling a sense of acceptance, respect, inclusion, and support in our environment. There are many ways that a connection with content and academic material can make students feel at home within the classroom. It provides them with a sense of continuity. For historically marginalized students, this means a continuity with their ancestral heritage and with their community, which means that it gives more meaning and life to the activities that they do and makes them more valuable for students to engage in. Teachers can build a connection between community and content in a number of ways, one of which is bringing community members in to reinforce concepts that are covered in the classroom. Another way is to bring in information, artifacts, news, to really connect that with the learning content that's being covered in the classroom. The third way is to really allow students to imagine the ways in which the content that they're covering connects with their outside lives. We talk about cultural relevance at a very broad level, but when we break that down to bringing culture and belonging inside of school, it means recognizing where students are. For the students that we serve in Durham, shoes matter a lot. And so we brought those sneaker culture into a lesson on building shoes for Mars. So students got to express their creativity and ultimately design a shoe that honored their culture as we think about colonizing Mars in the future. These strategies all hinge on helping students understand that they have a place inside the classroom, they have rights, and the classroom is centered around their experience.
So this is how we can bring student place and belonging into our classroom through digital storytelling. You saw pencil paper examples, but digital storytelling is a real life way that we can actually make that belonging and inclusion happen. Belonging is the perception of being accepted, valued, or included in a particular group or setting, our classroom, our campuses, connections that are genuine, caring, and sustained over time. When your students create a digital media project and create something that is digital storytelling and it is shared, that is the key. It is celebrated. It is something that is open to a global audience. That purpose, that belonging is the immediate effect of those opportunities. I do not have an Amazon storefront, but there are links over on the right-hand side of the screen for books, resources, places where you can go to get inspiration for these types of projects. So those are all linked there for you. They're not an Amazon storefront. They're just directly to the link. I do not have, that's way too much work for me to set something like that up. So why? What is the purpose? We know that this is how we promote pro-social behavior. We're all struggling with behavior post-COVID. Every school, every district is struggling with that. Being able to leverage our academic choices that we are making, the things that we're offering to our students in their learning experiences, if we can tie that into improved behavior, we always should try. This is where academic engagement improves attendance, improves belonging, and it improves outcomes for everyone because they're there, they want to be in our classrooms, and they want to learn because it matters to them. So I know that protective factors are a part of this. I'm not going to go through and read all of these off to you, but I am just going to say that there are some resources here for you. If you are working at a school site or you have administrators that need to see research-based data or support for the things that you're doing in your classroom, these are some of those resources that are there for you. And these are things that can be shared with parents. These are based on the developmental assets, and including building belonging in our classroom improves these protective factors for all students. So compassionate, dependable relationships, voice, choice, and opportunity to collaborate is probably the most powerful one for digital storytelling. Skill building and social, emotional, and academic learning, what we have our students write about, what we have them record their videos or their podcasts or create their photo stories about, builds all of this, that cultural responsiveness, predictability, and physical safety. Every single one is it could be accomplished with digital storytelling. Our goal is building belonging through digital storytelling. There are some additional resources again for you. Some of these are things to watch. Some of them are things to read. You're going to see a lot of kind of sneaky UDL strategies embedded into these slides. because especially in my role, we always want to be supplying and modeling the strategies that we want our teachers to actually use in their classroom by giving some choices for how we might learn. These are resources for you to come back to on your own as an independent learner. You decide what you need. Here's another way to think about it. Digital storytelling is the fridge. Digital storytelling and creating these projects is a way for us to recognize all of our students and let them select the things that they are proud of. So in the chat, I would like for you to share, where do you belong? Where is a place that you feel like you belong? And how can you tell? How do you know that you belong there? Or, this is an or, okay? This is an or, think or. Or if you would rather share a success or a failure that you have had with helping students feel that they belong. Not everything is a success, but everything is a lesson. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. I want you to think about that. Choose which prompt that's here, that is on the screen that you would like to respond to. We all kind of have different comfort levels. That's why I try to provide scaffolded, some safe questions and some a little bit riskier. But go right ahead and choose what you would like to respond to in the chat. And at any time, if there is something that is being asked of you to share in the chat and you don't feel comfortable, you are an adult and you are more than welcome to read others' comments and refrain from that response. You have that right to be a listener and a watcher as well. I love seeing all the different ways that we feel like we belong. Yes. Restorative community circles are powerful. Yes. And I agree. I feel like the EdTech community is a place where I feel like I belong as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on because I know I have so much to cover and I want to make sure that you get the things you need tonight. So, digital storytelling. If you've never heard this phrase before, digital storytelling is a process of just creating and distributing stories using digital tools. It's what you're already doing, zhuzhed just a little bit to incorporate that ed tech in an appropriate way, depending on the age and developmental level of your students. I'm going to play a little video that I think summarizes digital storytelling really well.
Digital storytelling is a term that's been thrown around a lot recently, but what does it actually mean? And more importantly, what doesn't it mean? It's not about telling an isolated story, because it's about sharing and connecting experiences and perspectives with a community. Therefore, it's not only about telling a story. It's about contributing and collaborating with others in a joint experience. And it's definitely not about creating media, because it's about creating meaning. It's not only the transfer of knowledge, it's about the amplification of voices. And it's not about substituting analog stories. It's about transforming those stories into something new and exciting. And most importantly, it's not just about the tools. It's about the skills that you have. This is a sketch note produced by Sylvia Rosenthal.
All right, I'm going to go switch back to my slides. This is always the tricky thing when we're going back and forth in between slides, right? So another resource here on the page for you. I feel like the sketch note and that recording really helps me understand the depth of possibility with digital storytelling. Digital storytelling with purpose is linked there below. Michael Hernandez is an ISTE celebrated author. So if you would like to access those resources, there are some online resources as well for that book. Many of the ideas that you see in today's presentation come from Michael Hernandez as well. So we've been talking about it. It's all about that why. And that why is really belonging and inclusivity, in addition to the benefits of communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity, and authentic engagement in our classroom. This is a for later slide for you. If you would like to learn more, you have things to read and you have things to watch, some resources for you to take away. But let's get to the doing. Let's get to that toolkit for successful digital storytelling. But I want to know, do you Canva? In the chat, please rate your usage of Canva. 1, I'm a total beginner. I've never even logged in. 2, 5, I'm a Canva pro. How do you feel right now about your Canva experience or understanding? We've got quite the gamut tonight. I'm actually quite impressed. It's really, I appreciate the honesty and the full disclosure of like, I'm a total one, I'm a total beginner, all the way through some people who are also presenting about Canva to their colleagues. So we have a very broad group of friends here tonight, broad group of capacities and comfort levels with Canva. What I'm going to share with you is really an overarching kind of what's possible with Canva. I will go into Canva myself and do a little bit of live demo, but really what I'm going to focus on is the application part of it. Because we know at this point, we're here in an EdTech playground, there's a YouTube video for everything. There's a tutorial for everything. There's a Canva design school for everything. So really what I want to focus on is the connection between what is possible in Canva, specifically for the types of digital storytelling projects that you see on the screen. Digital storytelling projects in Canva can be video, they can be audio, they can be drawings. Not sure if everyone was aware, I was not until a few months ago, that Canva actually has a drawing feature, and they can also be photo. But they can also be all of those things put together as well, because we know that app smashing and format smashing can be a really powerful tool as well, especially for those kids who are like, I can't just do one thing. We all have had those students. I have some examples for you here. I know that you're like, okay, Christina, there's only video and audio. That is actually for a reason, because the format really doesn't change as far as the type of things that we're going to prepare for our students. It's just the output that changes. So I'm sharing with you a sample planner for video projects, some sample projects and ideas, a sample script for audio projects, specifically podcasts, project ideas and examples. Again, these are resources for you to come back to because I want you to see what this actually looks like. But anytime that we can overshare, I have a very dear friend who I used to teach with who worked for Microsoft Flip for years until they closed down the tool. And now she has actually moved over to the Adobe Express team, but she used to be a ToSA. She used to be me. And her thing was everywhere she went, sharing is caring. Take all of my things, take all of the resources, because this is, who are we serving? Students. This, if anything that you see tonight helps a student, I will have done my job. So I'm going to share everything that I have available. Specifically, some projects.
Where am I from? I am from the TV hanging on my wall in my bedroom, from my bands in my closet, and the animated watch list. I am from my brick light tan house on top of a small hill. I am from cleaning the kitchen, from getting advice and lectures from my family members, and from the sound of laughter echoing the house. I am from the roses in my backyard, the mango tree around the corner. I'm from late night snacks and my brown eyes from my mother. From Gurley, Tiffany, and Aaron, I'm from the family dinners and the Bible studies. From be someone you want to be, and you need to push yourself to improve. I am from the Lord above, the one who washed away my sins and said, "My daughter, you are saved." I am from the immigrants from Guatemala, from Tamales and Enchiladas. From the time I learned how to play a few notes on the guitar, I am from Anaheim Hills.
So the trust that it takes for a student to feel safe sharing who they are where they're from is powerful. This project is where I'm from. It was inspired by Kwame Alexander. There's an excellent TED Talk of a professor reciting her Where I'm From poem as well. But all this is essentially a selfie screen recording in Canva. And she could have changed her background. She could have added text. She could have done a lot of things. But the fact that she just recorded herself doesn't take away from the power of her poem. Now, I'm going to switch screens and go into Canva just briefly and show you how this happens. But for those of us who are like, no, I really want more, because today's really like a dipstick, just like a appetizer for all these projects. Here's a tutorial video you can play for your students. We've vetted. I did watch all of these tutorials to make sure that there's nothing inappropriate or risky, but of course your district might have different rules than mine. Always make sure that you're watching them. But this is a much more in-depth Canva video editor tutorial for you. I'm going to switch over to a different screen. And of course I have to unshare, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to just open a new video project. Now, for those of us who've not used Canva before, we're beginners, you have two choices. You can start blank. So what I just did was I'm in my Canva homepage. I am signed in and I have lots of options. It's going to give me the things that I use most often. I'm going to go to video, and it makes me say video again. So I'm going to go to video, and then I'm going to go to video, because Canva's like, wait, do you want a template for your video, or do you just want a video? Do you want a mobile video? Do you want a Facebook video? Do you want an Instagram reel? This is really a door opening opportunity. How many of your students think that they're going to be influencers or YouTubers or gamers, and they want that social media style video? They absolutely can make something that looks like social media that isn't, that is safe and controlled and contained. As long as your district is an enterprise user, they have a single sign-on, or whether or not your students are allowed to use their district accounts, this is a protected system where they could create things that look just like social media. I'm just going to open a blank video project. And I get lots of things. I can still change my mind and say, wait, I really did want a template. Ooh, that was kind of whiplashy. Or I can leave it blank and I can start from scratch. Now, I am going to actually go ahead and I'm going to change my mind. I want a grand opening. Just like everything else in Canva, this is entirely customizable. I can change everything in this template. I can change the text, the video that's playing in the background is an overlay. There are video editing tools that you have up on the top. I am not going to go too far into that because you have a tutorial. I want you to see the part where your students can actually record themselves, create a video of themselves in here. I'm going to go, I know it's a little weird. I'm actually going to go to uploads. I know. The reason that it's under uploads is because it's actually going to record your student and upload it to the cloud, where then the algorithm will then insert it into this template. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to record myself. And I have to say, I have never tried to record myself while in a Zoom meeting, so we will see if it works. Now, I have myself down here. I can move myself to wherever I want it on the screen. I can also click on the change shape if I want a different frame. I have those options. I haven't even gotten into the color editing, the background remover. This is basic getting started. I can hit record. And I can share my story from my computer, from my Chromebook, from my iPad, and create really high quality videos thanks to Canva. When I'm done, I'm going to click done. It's going to take a little time to process. And now I have my video. So, and I can at this point, I can exit the studio. I'm done. I'm going to save and exit. And you're going to see my video here Hopefully, let's see if it'll play. If it doesn't, and I can share my story
So it's a little-
from my computer, from my Chromebook, from my iPad, and create really high. It's a little glitchy because I'm in Zoom. However, quality videos thanks to Canva. When I'm done, I'm going to click done. It's going to take a little time. All right. It's a little glitchy because I'm in Zoom. However, it's that simple. It's literally open a video file, upload, record yourself, and your students can record themselves. This is a great replacement for Flip also for those of us who really relied on it for fluency practice. But there's so much to this. If I select my video, I have so much editing power. I can even detach the video so that it's no longer in that frame because I want you to see really where like the big money is. I can remove the background from that video. It's going to take a little bit to process. This is where your students can insert themselves. I'm going to talk while it's working. You can have your students insert themselves into a location. If you are studying national monuments, you are studying California regions, you are studying anywhere on Earth, any environment, any habitat. This is where I'm going to delete that frame because I don't need it. This is where you can have your students insert themselves into anything, and it is a video. You have access to over 80,000 elements that can become a background, whether it's an animated video like mine, because mine is an animated video in the background, whether it's a still image in the background, whether it is a student created artwork in the background. This is where digital storytelling becomes real for our students when they see themselves and they hear themselves on screen. I'm going to go back to my slides because I could literally spend the whole rest of this time just talking about video, and I want to make sure we cover the rest of the types. All right, so you have that full tutorial there. Now, what about audio projects? This is actually our district participates in the MICVA Challenge, which is our civic action engagement project. And a group of students, this was a group of 11th grade students, their campaign was ending gun violence. And so after months of work, researching, interviewing, they created a podcast. The podcast process is exactly the same as what I just showed you, except you're turning your video off. It will record the audio where you can create the background, the podcast landing page, a student illustration, and it will just have the audio. But I want you to kind of get a little sample of what these students created. This was uploaded, even though it was created originally in Canva, it was uploaded to Spotify because they did submit this for a contest. So it is, that is why it is in a different platform at this point. But I want you to just get a little sampling of what kids are capable of.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Ending Gun Violence Starts With You podcast. I'm Sophia.
I'm Dania. I'm Cheyenne. I'm Annalyn.
And this is our very first episode of our podcast. Oh, this is really weird. Okay.
They sound just like high
today for our
schoolers.
first episode, we kind of just wanted to introduce ourselves and like kind of explain what we're doing here so that you guys can get to know us a little bit better and explain our cutesy little project.
All right. So as you can see, they sound just like 11th graders would, but I want you to see what that looks like in Canva. So I'm going to go back to my screen here, go back to my untitled project. I'm going to remove this video because I decided that I want this to be a podcast. Now I can edit the template that I already opened, or I can start over. There are, I think, over 2,500 podcast templates. I'm going to click on the little hamburger or pancake, whatever you like to call your menu, and I'm going to go back to Canva by clicking on Canva. And I'm going to, this time, instead of selecting from the my common types of projects that are here, because these are the types of projects I usually use, I'm actually going to show you how you can find a template just by searching. I'm just going to type in podcast. Your students have access to every single one of these templates as well. You can also filter. If your students have already started something and they need to find it, they can go to their content and filter that way, or they can filter by templates. I'm going to filter by templates, and I'm going to hit return, and I get, let's see, oh, it did increase. Last week it was 2,500 something, 2,697 templates for podcasting. I think that this one looks fabulous. I'm going to customize this template. Everything is adjustable. Everything in here is editable. There are graphics, there is text, there are images, but where's the audio? Like, how is this a podcast? It's actually a cover. This is what's called a podcast cover. It's a landing page is what it is. But I need to know how to get my students' voices into this podcast. I'm going to follow the same steps that I just saw for video. I'm going to go to uploads, and I'm going to go to record myself. But I'm going to select something a little bit different this time. Instead of choosing, I'm going to adjust some things. I did not adjust this at all last time. I am going to change this to no camera. Now, I also can take this off. I'll show you how to take this away once I finish recording my voice. I also could just leave it. This could be my picture right here if I wanted to keep it. For your students, you see my little emoji there, or my Bitmoji, because that is what I have set as my profile on my Canva account. Most of your students are probably going to have the little skittle that's a circle with their letter, the letter of their first initial or their last initial, which is fine as well. I'll show you what to do with that when I'm done recording. I get a countdown. My name is Christina Corradino, and this is my very first podcast episode. I'm going to click done. I'm going to save and exit the studio. My name is Christina Corradino, and this is my very first podcast episode. Okay, so where is that? Where is the audio? How can I adjust this? How can I edit it? I'm going to click on it because I remember that I put my face here. Now, I'm going to move my little screens here, and I want to go to, my name is Christina Corradino, and this is my very first podcast episode. So I'm using the menu that's up at the top, and I'm using the trim menu. So you have editing, you have trimming, you have other options here that you can adjust. You can adjust the speed, you can have it repeat, you can have it play automatically, but I can also adjust so many other things. There is a timeline editor. I know that things are constantly changing. Typically, I would be able to, let's see if I just need to select on it, because sometimes things in the menu do move around, and you have all of this option as well. Every single time that you have an element, there is more than one way to adjust and edit that element. So this is like the beginner, very basic way to get started with podcast. So it's literally just a video recording without the camera turned on. I'm going to pause right here, and I want to do a little quick check-in. And I want you to tell me, in your current classroom, in your current grade that you are teaching, is there I want you to think about a project that you typically have students do in writing that could be a video or could be a podcast. A writing activity, a project, a research activity, a research project, a group project, because this does not have to be individual. Go ahead and add into the chat. What are you currently doing that could become digital storytelling, video or audio in Canva? What are you already doing? Oh, yes. Imagine just being able to get our students to read their writing out loud, how much it improves their writing. Absolutely. English reports, kinder. We have teachers in the room from TK all the way through high school. I have seen TK teachers set up their teacher device, get this ready, and have their students record their voices. and calling students a group at a time or having it as a station. And obviously, this is the project that we listened to, Ending Gun Violence Starts With You. 11th graders were able to completely do on their own independently. This is something that is appropriate because it is adjustable and adaptable for all grades. I really appreciate what you're sharing in the chat. This is an opportunity for us to learn from each other. Even though I'm the one presenting, you all have a wealth of knowledge and experience and wisdom as teachers that we have the opportunity to learn from each other. And I'm really impressed by your willingness and your participation in the chat because you're helping each other so much tonight. And I really appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to come back here. And again, just like with the video, here is a more in-depth podcast tutorial. Again, student appropriate. This is something that you can snag from the slides and be able to make copies. So I'm gonna segue. I'm gonna pause for just a second because this is something that we didn't know when we first started using Canva. What I gave to you in the bit.ly is a public view link. Now, if you want to make a copy of my slides so that you can edit them, so you can extract things, so that you can use things with your students, you absolutely can do that. You just need to be signed into Canva. If you accessed these slides by just going to the bit.ly without logging in, because it's a public link, you don't have to be logged in to see it. If you go back, make sure that you go to the main page in Canva and you log in and you come back to my slides, there will be a little menu at the top that says File. And you can go to that and you can make a copy. Let me show you what it looks like because I want you to take this and make it your own. I want you to use everything that you need to be able to maximize the potential for your students to do digital storytelling. Let me switch windows back so that I can go back and show you. So on my screen, I'm logged in. This is my file. So obviously you see all the editing buttons. But when you go to my slides at first, you're just going to see the presentation. Like you don't get editing. You're not going to necessarily get the changes shaved in cloud. You're not going to get the present button. But as long as you are signed in, you can go to File, and then you can go here and make a copy. You have my permission fully to make a copy of my slides. And I just wanted to say this at this point because I'm getting into a lot of tutorial videos. And sometimes it gets a little stressful when you're like, I got to scroll through this whole thing to get these tutorials to use with my students. That's not effective. I want you to know that this is a workaround for that so that you can Frankenstein it all you want to work for you. So please feel free. You do what you need to do to make this maximize opportunity for you and your students. All right, so back to the plan for today. This tutorial is very, very helpful. This is something that can be assigned in Google Classroom. It can be shared in other ways. Your students will figure it out. You share this, they will do it. They will create things that are absolutely incredible. Let's talk about drawing. This is something that I am a recent user as far as the drawing possibilities on Canva. This is the only tutorial that I am going to show you and we are going to watch together because Canva, this was in beta over the summer. They announced it at their national conference last year called Canva Create. It was actually held in LA. And it's a relatively new tool. It's constantly changing. So I tried to find the most up-to-date current tutorial for us so that we can kind of see how something like this could be created. This is actually inspired by The Giver. This was a 6th grader. In my district, The Giver is read at 7th grade. But this was actually a different district. This was a 6th grader who they were doing character analysis. And in 6th grade, one of the language arts standards is talking about and discussing dynamic characters, characters that change over the course of a novel, and talking about how their character development can affect the plot. So this picture by itself looks very simple. The students rationale and their explanation for this drawing was incredibly deep and showed the teacher immediately that that student understood and had mastered the standard for being able to describe dynamic characters and how character development over a course of a novel can have an impact on the plot through this story. This was a student who had severe writer's block, who literally was in tears because they did not know how to get started answering that question. Teacher allowed them to create this drawing first, and it opened the floodgates of communication, of understanding, and of mastery. And I think to this day, it's probably one of my it kind of makes me emotional thinking about how digital storytelling projects can really unlock learning for a lot of our students, because we know that creativity is powerful. So this tutorial we're going to watch together because this is really, really cool. If you are lucky enough to be on a second device or be able to have a second window open and you want to try this while we're learning, you go right ahead. You are the learner, because this is that cool.
So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to draw here on Canva. So first thing you have to do is load up a design that you want to add some drawings to and draw on. So for this example, I just have a blank white document. Once that is done and you want to
any blank
actually draw, go to the left-hand side of the screen right here. Go to all the way down to where it says apps right here at the bottom. I want you to press on that. Now, once you're greeted to the apps feature, I want you to scroll on down a little bit to where it says create something new. Once you are on this screen, I want you to go to this purple icon right here with a white outline of a pencil crayon or a marker or whatever the case may be, basically to where it says draw beta. Then I want you to press on that. Then
I don't think it says draw beta anymore because now it's actually out of beta, but I hope that we all have a chance to look in those apps that are additional that we can unlock and add to our elements bar, because there are some powerful tools in
once
there.
that is done, you are given a bunch of different options. You have four, markers to choose from. You have the pen, marker, gold pen, and highlighter. So for this example, we'll just use the highlighter, but you can use whatever one you want. Just by default, I'll use the red. And there you go. There's a red highlighter. If you want to use the marker, you can change that and you can go blue. If you want to change the color or change the size of the marker and make it a little bit thicker, there you go. If you want to make it a little bit thinner, there you go. Basically, you can draw whatever you want here on Canva using the draw beta feature. Now, once you have your drawings done, you want to erase something, not a big deal as well. Just press on the eraser right here. If I were you, I would probably change the size to the largest one to make it easiest to erase. And then you can erase it as if it is just back to normal and keeping whatever designs you want to keep, not erasing them. So once that is done, just press down in the top left corner. And there you go. That is how you use the draw feature in Canva and basically how you can draw here on Canva. So hopefully this video helped. Thanks again for watching.
It's so simple, but so powerful. For those of you who have Chromebooks in your classroom, it is a little bit more challenging because we're using trackpad. If your students have a mouse, whether it's wired or wireless, a mouse will work for this. For those of us, or you, I should say you, those of you lucky enough to have iPads in your classroom, this with an iPad, endless possibilities. It's also a really great way to help our littles practice their fine motor skills, and they can be drawing their letters and practicing shapes. There is no grade that this wouldn't be appropriate for. So I want you to go in and I want you just to try it. Open a new document, open a new something. I'm going to give you a little tip. I'm going to come back to mine. And this time, I actually am going to go back to the main page in Canva because I want to try it too. I'm going to go back to my little menu. I'm going to go back to Canva. I'm going to leave my podcast that I didn't quite finish, but I want you to open the whiteboard. Let's do that, because whiteboard plus drawing is really mind-blowing. So I don't want a template, so I'm going to close that template tab. Please go away. Something updated in Canva again, so things happen. Now, I did already turn my drawing tool on. If your drawing tool is not already in your left side menu, you can go to apps and you can add it. It will be on here somewhere. Mine is not showing because mine is already added. So if you have not already added drawing or it doesn't show up automatically, you can go to apps and you can find it. It will be in here somewhere. My apps are here because it's already on there. So I'm going to go to draw and I'm going to see now that I have pen tool, I have a marker, I have a highlighter, which works really great for layering. I have that eraser. I can change the color and I can change the other settings like the weight and the transparency of the line. If I were a teacher of littles, I might have my students, if I was lucky enough to have touch screen, I might have my students practice their letters. I might have my older students capture a scene from a novel that we're reading. If I'm if I am a teacher who also teaches SEL, this would be a great SEL activity. Every content area can tie into something like this. I'm going to give you 2 minutes just to try it out. By the way, if you ever use Canva presentations with your students and you want a timer, all you have to do is touch a number on your keyboard and the timer will pop up. You can adjust the minutes and the seconds once it is open on your screen. It's like the least offensive timer announcement that I can think of out there. All right. I want to see how you're feeling about that option. Tani or any of our other ladies, you please remind me because Zoom is not my primary presentation. Is there a emoji reaction tool in Zoom? I thought there was, but I'm not seeing it.
There is, yeah. So on our Zoom toolbar at the bottom, there is a heart icon and it says react. And if you click the arrow or you click that, you get lots of options. There's some with effects and then some other ones.
Perfect. Pick a reaction. I want to see how we're feeling so far. Video, audio, drawing. What are we thinking? What reaction meets our impression so far? I see lots of celebration horns. All right. Lots of clapping. I know it's so overwhelming. There's so many things that we can do. Well, thank you. All right. We have one more type of project to talk about. So let's go ahead and let's look at photo projects. Photo stories, photo essays, photo reports are another option. And the reason that this one is last is because the example I'm showing you is actually a combination of a photo and a drawing. So this is also inspired by Michael Hernandez. The photo is actually courtesy of Jody Dinehammer, and this was submitted for digital storytelling with purpose. And this is a content area connection. So far, we've really been talking about more creative type of writing, writing narratives, writing stories, writing reports, those types of things, really focused on ELA. But what if we're a content area teacher? What if I am a science teacher? What if I am a history teacher or a world language teacher? How does that apply to my content and what I'm teaching? Here is a science example. We know, those of us who have taught science or teach science, that scientific modeling is incredibly important, but it's also very difficult. Scientific modeling can cost a lot of money. It can take a lot of time, a lot of resources. With Canva, we can do so many things at no cost. This is a photo that a student took during a lab in class, uploaded it to their Canva, and then used the drawing tool over the photo, just uploaded the photo directly to a new project, and then was able to draw over it and demonstrate their mastery. This is actually an assessment. The teacher was able to use this along with a rubric or a scale, depending on if you're a Marzano school or not. Sometimes we call them scales, learning scales, and sometimes rubrics. But to be able to identify immediately that this student had mastered the standard that they were learning in learning about the structure of a bone. Powerful. It's not a story, but this is a digital media project that tells the story of learning, and it tells the story of content mastery. So how do we build in activities and opportunities for our students to use photo and photo stories in our classrooms for digital storytelling? So here is a tutorial, because like everything else, Canva can do about 1,000,001 things with photos. We've seen a lot of the other tools. This is the photo editor tool. This tutorial is a little bit longer because I want you, the learning really today is focused on the application. I'm going to let you watch this tutorial on your own if you feel that that is something that you want or you need to do. But I want you, more importantly, to know what kinds of things could I use a photo project for? When would it be appropriate for a photo story? One example is to build belonging. Have your students write a Where I'm From poem and take a self-portrait. Edit it in Canva. Create a piece of art that they can then read their Where I'm From poem and embed it as an audio piece that goes with it. How about the story of my name? Memory snapshot stories, digital scrapbooks or collages. I do have some TKK teachers who every year make a big book of memories for their students that go home at the end of the school year. And when we got Canva, they started creating a digital memory, a digital scrapbook, so that their families have access to it forever, and it doesn't ever have to be stored, and it won't ever deteriorate. Reflection journals, vlogs, daily check-ins. Would you rather? If I were an igneous rock, who would I be? What would I do? Where would I live? What would I like? What would I not like? Who would my friends be? These are connections that we can make all the time. Something else that's here is 6-word memoirs. If you have not heard of a 6-word memoir, I would definitely highly recommend that you Google it. It is a powerful engagement and writing tool. Teachers and students from all over the world are contributing to this project of 6-word memoirs. The most famous 6-word memoir ever written was Baby Shoes for Sale, Never Worn. I think most of us are familiar with that story. Pop culture projects, student selected projects, and more. Again, there's some resources linked there for you. Don't forget about SEL. If your district, your school has adopted an SEL curriculum, my district has adopted Second Step. This is an opportunity to capture that and have tangible evidence of the work that students are doing and the building of their growth mindset, those restorative circles that you might be using in your classroom, that restorative justice process. This is all incredibly powerful. What if I'm specifically a language arts teacher? What can I do with digital storytelling? Whether it's an image, whether it's an audio project, a video project, a photo project, a drawing project, poetry is a powerful tool for digital storytelling. Storytelling in general. And the reason why that one is separate is because storytelling for storytelling's sake is still incredibly valuable. I know that in some schools and in some areas, teachers are discouraged from teaching narrative writing because there is an assumption after a certain grade that students know how to do it, that we've learned narrative writing, we've done it too much. It's been, it's an easy way out. It is not an easy way out. As students progress through different grades, the standard for narrative writing changes. We should, if there is a standard for it, then we ultimately are responsible for it. This is a way to say, we are writing a narrative. We are going to use some digital storytelling. Here's some choices for you to create a production, a product of this. I'm going to be looking for main character. I'm going to be looking for a conflict. I'm going to be looking for beginning, middle, end. Whatever your grade standard is, you absolutely can assess through digital storytelling. These can be original productions. How many of our classrooms and our curriculum, if it's an ELA curriculum, has a reader's theater component or a play that we have to read with our students? And sometimes it can be a slog and it can get a little dry, especially if we've taught the same grade or their same course for a really long time. You deserve to not be bored teaching either. Your students deserve to not be bored learning. This is how we can make that, bring back that real zest for learning and that engagement. Have your students create a how-to. It is a standard in some grades. I know in our first grade classrooms, we are writing those how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, how to tie our shoes. There is an actual standard for following directions and actually creating directions. All of these are options that you can plug in digital storytelling. And don't forget about fluency practice. Sometimes digital storytelling doesn't have to be an original work written by a student, but a retelling or a reading of something in a dramatic way. If you're a history social studies teacher or multiple subject teacher who teaches history and social studies, look at all the options that you have for digital storytelling. Personifying a landmark or a monument. Can you imagine if you had a student put a photo, which they can search for in Canva, they do not have to Google it, in Canva. If I had my students studying the Golden Gate Bridge, for example, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of images of the Golden Gate Bridge in Canva, royalty free, completely copyright safe. Everything is fair use in Canva that they can then put into a new project, create an audio recording, and pretend and write as if they are the Golden Gate Bridge. When was I born? When was I built? When were the first people crossing my bridge or crossing me? This is extremely powerful. We know that we have different grades that focus on biographies. We focus on, there are grades that we have standards that we are required to teach about information literacy, propaganda. All of this ties in with digital storytelling. You're going to see digital one-pagers or infographics repeat in several of these pages because it's a tool that can be used in multiple areas, multiple content areas, multiple subjects. So you're going to see that one repeated because they are that good and they are that powerful. How about science? We saw the example with the photo, the labeled scientific modeling of the bone. Science phenomena. No matter what science curriculum your school or your district is using, you have key standards, you have essential questions, you have inquiry, hopefully, you have some hands-on scientific experimentation and inquiry too. Those are all things that students can capture using digital storytelling to take what they normally would have been doing on a worksheet or normally would have been doing in a writing activity and turn it into something that is multimedia and powerful. Interviewing a famous scientist. I know that several grades also create like a biography project. Some of them do paper bag biographies. Imagine if you had your students recording their paper bag biography and it's actually being recorded in Canva, but that video is their paper bag talking. This does not have to be it could be a complete reinvention of what you're already doing, but it also can just be a reiteration, a slight adjustment, a zhuzh. That is one of my favorite words, obviously. By the way, I think I've only said it twice, but that is how we describe digital storytelling. Taking what we're already doing and we're zhuzhing it so that it sparkles and it shines. So how about math? I know we struggle sometimes to make math real and make it tangible, but can we have our students create a tutorial video? Instead of us being the ones that are always creating the tutorials, put it on your students. Teach us how this works. What is the process for finding equivalent fractions? What is the process for dividing? You tell me, you teach me. If you have never seen a Solvemoji or had your students create Solvemojis, I would definitely highly recommend that you look that up. I did not link it here because I know there's already so much in these slides, but oh my goodness, Solvemojis in Canva, incredibly cool. Math around us. If you are lucky enough to have devices that are okay to travel around your school campus, have your students go out on the playground, go out into the quad, go out into the common space and find the math around them, especially when you're in measurement and geometry. It's there. Then they can describe it. They can draw over it, label it. It becomes real. This is also where we can have our number talks. We can have those conversations, building that number sense, in really creating a link between an abstract mathematical concept and making it tangible and making it real for students to be able to grasp and build that schema so they have something to attach that new learning to, all through digital storytelling. I know we have some secondary friends in the Zoom tonight. So if you are an art, a music, a dance, a theater teacher, there are so many things that you, even with your content, can absolutely have your students do with digital storytelling. Summarizing a genre, creating an advertisement. If you're studying a particular type or unit and there's key vocabulary that is very specific, that language of the discipline can absolutely be reinforced and learned through digital storytelling. And of course, world languages. We know that in world language class, we struggle to get our students communicating, conversing, having those collaborative conversations. Using digital storytelling and leveraging technology to lower the affective filter that a lot of our students have, especially when learning a second language, this is an opportunity to open that door so that we can get that authentic evidence of ability, especially when learning another language. But this is where it becomes truly magical, because our students have a culture all of their own. And this is going all the way back to that video that we watched at the beginning that was talking about shoe culture in the professor's neighborhood, in their community. That shoe culture was incredibly important to students in that area. What is important to your students? How can you have them create that monument, describing a California monument, but in the style of a social media reel? Or in the style of a story, a social media story, or as a horror film, or a reality game show, an unboxing video. I do have a teenage son, and whenever I am scrolling social media and I get the inspirational messages, text messages from my teenage son, there's a gentleman who puts out reels where it's like peaceful music and these lovely backgrounds, and it's all of these texts from his son that are like, bruh, what's in the burrito? Like, it's hilarious. I have seen a teacher take that and have them write out quotes from a character in a book as inspirational quotes from the character in that story and turn it into a series of inspirational texts from that character. Those students have to truly understand that character deeply in order to capture that and in order to make it work. Super Bowl's coming up. Have students create a Super Bowl commercial for something that is relevant to the content that you're currently teaching, but crowdsource it. I know that a lot of us lived through the ages of the water bottle flipping, the dabbing, all of that. What is cool to your kids now? What is it that is inspiring and motivating to them? What is it that they actually do when they're not in school? Is it sports? Is it fashion? Is it video games? What is it? What is the thing that is important to our students' culture today? Ask them. They will tell you and tell you and tell you. How do we leverage that those things that they want to do and tie it together with the things that they have to do so that they can be successful and it becomes a want to? That's the power of it. Now, I know that it's really hard to build any kind of depth of expertise in a short training like this. This was really like an overview, a big picture umbrella of what can be done with Canva and digital storytelling. For those of you who want to learn more, in addition to the tutorials that I've dropped into these slides, please, if you have not already, go to Canva Design School. It is linked here. I believe that there are actual badges and things that you can earn, and you can become there is I think a level 1. I'll have to check because I probably am making things up now. But Canva Design School there is an area in Canva Design School that is specifically for educators. So it is showing you, the teacher, exactly what is possible with Canva in your classroom. It will really go into the types of things that students can do to improve their workflow, that you can do to improve your workflow. I barely scratched the surface tonight, and I know that you are going to go and create amazing things with your students in Canva. Go to that Canva Design School. It is so powerful. A lot of what my digital learning team has done is because we are working through those design school courses as well. So a little bit of additional inspiration before we are done for the evening, before we go into Q&A, because I know I talked a lot and you probably have questions. Just a little bit of inspiration. The yellow links are student storytellers. If you want to see some examples of digital storytelling out and about in California, take a look at some of those links. Inspirational projects are also linked there, things that you can actually use and make copies of as well. And some additional learning opportunities that are just for you. KQED, if you do not follow them or subscribe to their newsletter, is an incredibly valuable educational resource. They have free courses for you to go and learn more about media projects in science, audio media projects. They're very device neutral. So those KQED courses are really more about like the planning behind it, the purpose behind it, the steps that you should take with your students. Those KQED courses are very valuable. There is also a digital storytelling article collection for those of us who like to learn through reading. And there is a Story Center for digital storytelling for educators webinar recording that is there as well, with some additional resources for you. So I want to say, I know we have about perfect amount of time, about 10 minutes. If you have questions, please feel free to use the reaction to raise your hand, or feel free. I don't know, Tani, if you typically have a method for Q&A. I usually am just like a free-for-all, but you tell me what works best for you.
We're the free-for-all kind of people as well. So yeah, if you've got a question for Christina, definitely throw it in the chat. Our team is watching the chat, so we won't miss it, or unmic. And we probably have about another 5 to 6 minutes or so, so we can wrap up too.
I do see a question in the chat. How long will projects be saved on a student's Canva account? So if your district has a contract with Canva is free for districts. If they have a district provided account, it will be active and saved until that student leaves the district. If your students are creating individual accounts or you are a solo user that is using it on your own with your students, I do not know the answer to that. I can only attest this question did come up when we adopted Canva last year, that it will stay with them for the entire time that they are in our district. If your students are creating it on their own, the free account version, I don't think ever expires, but I think it does limit them to storage, an amount of gigabytes of storage for the free version. I can look that up and send that information to Tani after the fact because I'm really not sure about the free personal accounts. I'm only familiar with the school enterprise contract accounts. Oh, sharing projects with students. Okay, so I did see some other questions about that. So there are multiple ways that you can have your students share their projects with you. If you are a district that has created Canva accounts for your students and you are what we can consider an education user or an enterprise user, they will be able to share them with you by going to share and grabbing that shareable link. And they can then paste that link into Google Classroom for you. So the only thing that we have had to really reiterate with our teachers is that if a student is sharing work with a teacher that they're not like rostered to, they have to make sure that the sharing settings are so that everyone can view. I tell every student every time I go into a classroom to do a modeled lesson, when we start a project, we actually go and change that first. It's in the share and then view by all. And then everyone can actually be able to have access to that. Projects are also downloadable depending on the type of project. For example, a video project can be downloaded to a Chromebook or to an iPad as an MP4 project, as an MP4 file, which can then also be uploaded to Google Classroom. And the only reason I didn't go over that today is because there are so many ways for students to share their work with you. And it's really unique depending on if your district is a district level user and the district has created those accounts for them, or if you are an individual student having your individual teacher having your students use Canva, it works a little different depending on what kind of account you're using. Let me see, I think I missed one up here.
Christina, you also had a question. Do you have any examples of how digital storytelling can be used in SPED classes? And there was a question earlier about in specific, do you have any ideas for ways that students who are maybe nonverbal would be able to access?
So we have both mild mod and mod severe classrooms participating in our district with a specific pilot for us with iPads. So even if your students receiving special education services are using Chromebooks, I would highly recommend starting with that drawing option. Using that drawing tool. The other thing that students can do is to creating images, creating artwork in Canva. We didn't do digital art today, but creating a blank document where students can then go and search for dog. They can go in and search for farm. They can search for anything and create a collage. They can create images that still convey meaning. It doesn't have to be verbal communication. It absolutely can be imagery. It can be drawing. It can even be photos where students are either taking photos with their device or searching the photo elements that are already built into Canva and using them to convey meaning and communicate the things that they are learning about. So it's really adjustable. Especially if there are multiple adults in the classroom that can assist with the technology side of it. I have seen a lot of success, especially with our mod severe students who are nonverbal, being able to create pictures. So for example, we had a first and second grade mod severe medically significant classroom where they were studying holidays around the world. And so the students created a little collage of their holiday traditions, what was important to them at the holidays. And so several students had made pretty typical American Christmas collages. Some of them, there was 2 students who made a Kwanzaa collage. There was a student who was from India who celebrated Diwali, which is a little bit different and a little bit different time frame, but they were able to show some of the rituals and the traditions and the objects that are involved with Diwali. It was really powerful.
Thanks, Christina. I appreciate all of your wisdom, and you had a couple of questions in the chat that luckily our amazing network was able to support with answering, which included if people can collaborate on projects, which is one of the awesome parts of Canva, that yes, they can. And then a question about like video or audio limits, and it looks like it might be up to 2 hours, which is amazing.
Yes.
So we just want to appreciate you for coming and sharing all of your amazing ideas, and the student samples always, of course, are wonderful.
Well, thank you all. I know that there was a question about being able to make a copy of my files. You just have to make sure that you are signed into Canva. That then you can go to file and make a copy. And if that still doesn't work, let the team know, let the EdTech Playground team know, and I will create a new copy and share that with them so that we can get that to you.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm not. I'm logged into my account. I actually present on Canva, so I'm very Canva savvy, and I have tried a million ways, including taking out the back part and putting in edit, and I can't seem to get it to copy.
So are you going to the file and making a copy of the entire presentation, or are you copying individual slides or elements?
Whole presentation.
And it doesn't.
It's not giving me the option. It's like when I go to share, it shares the link, and then when I open it in Canva, it just is that same presentation view. It doesn't allow me any sort of editing at all.
Same here.
I don't know if I don't
Same.
know if I'm the only one.
No,
but
it's the same.
I-
I've been trying 2 different devices.
Yeah,
and it's still
right,
Yeah.
and me as well. So
So-
I think if you send it to us as a template link, maybe, so that we can then edit it, that would be much more helpful, because I'm at the frustration side of all the different ways that I've tried.
I was literally just doing that while you were talking. It's in the chat now.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. When all else fails, we go straight to template link. Well, I hope that you all create incredible digital storytelling projects with your students. Maybe I'll see some of them submitted in the California Media Festival contest. Who knows? We never know what things our students are capable of until they try. And
Did you
really
post the link?
I did. I can post it again just in case.
It's not here.
Not there.
Oh, you know what? You know why? Because I posted it as a direct message. That was me. There we go. That was me.
Thank you.
User error.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Christina. We're going to just have a few closing slides, everyone. We'll wrap this up in just a couple minutes. I'll probably share my screen now, and Anu will take us home.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And I know we have very little time, so I'm going to just run through the next couple of slides. We always like to finish with an optimistic closure. I know today's session has been amazing, wonderful. We'd love to hear from you on the Padlet. Please share with us what whatever ahas or some wonderful ideas you came up with and are thinking of applying. So even though the time is up, we would really appreciate if you could spend a little time and let us know how this session went so that we can also celebrate and improve where we lacked. So thank you so much. And moving on, join us for our next play date. It is on March 4th. And this is going to be, again, a very rich and engaging workshop run by Ben Cogswell about on edu protocols. And you all have we have done this before, and I'm sure if you would love to know more, we would love to see you all again. And moving on, join us on Facebook. We love to hear from you, love to hear any ahas and shout outs. And please join us. We have the link right there. And that is all. And for those of you, our playground pros, please hang on because you will get a sign out link. So if you signed in, you will have a sign out link. Those who did not sign in, you are welcome to leave. Thank you so much for joining us today. And those who are our playground pros, please hang on and stay here. Thank you so much, Christina, and everyone who is here today.